Namaste, my name is Jillian, and welcome back to your mat. This class is designed for athletes or anyone that has a particularly active lifestyle. Come to lay down on your back in shavasana and start to scan over your body. Notice any points of tension, any tightness, and just take a few breaths here, filling up your belly and chest. Exhaling, sinking into the ground and letting all of your breath go. Hug your right knee in towards your chest, wrapping your hands around your shin or your hamstring. Inhaling to lengthen the back of the neck and exhaling to pull it in a little bit more. Roll the ankle out one way and then the other. And then extend your foot up to the sky. Foot is flexed. And we're going to send it down to the bottom of the mat for a hover and then kick it back into our hands. So lower and wrap your hands around your hamstring. Moving through a couple more, making sure that the foot is pulsing at the bottom and snapping back into your hands. Give it one more tug in towards your chest. Roll out the ankle. Step your left foot to the ground and cross your right ankle over your left thigh for thread the needle. You can either keep your left foot to the ground and use your right hand to push your right knee away from you, or you could always lift that left foot up off of the ground and hug it towards your chest. Breathing in nice and deep, letting all of your breath go. Unbind your legs. Send your right foot to the bottom of your mat and hug the left knee in towards your chest. Filling up the belly. Exhaling, finding more space to hug it in towards your chest. Roll your ankle out one way and then the other. Extend that foot up to the sky, flexing the foot, and then lowering it down to the hover, pulse it, and then kick it back into your hands. Pulse, kick it back up, and wrap your hands around your hamstring. Moving through a couple more, keeping your right leg engaged. Upper body stays still, except your arms. Step your right foot to the ground and cross your left ankle over your right thigh, or thread the needle, choosing whatever variation is comfortable in your body today, whether that's your foot on the ground or lifted, as long as you can keep your tailbone and your shoulders firmly rooted to the ground. Hold deep breaths. And lower the right foot back down, unbind the legs, take a breath. Fill up your belly and let it go. Roll over onto your right side into a fetal position. You can use your right bicep as a pillow. Breathing into your back body, feeling your ribs expand. And slowly work your way up into a seated position, sitting cross-legged, and then walk your fingertips forward into a seated forward fold. Try to keep your back long and straight. And then exhale, let your head fall forward, rounding into the upper back. Breathing into the back body. If you are feeling rather open, you can either rest your forehead on a block or onto your arms. And then slowly rising up, crossing your legs the other way, and walk yourself back forward. You might notice a difference in flexibility from side to side, from side to side. Resting your forehead if that feels comfortable for you. Breathing nice full breaths into your lungs, feeling your ribs in the back expand, sinking forward on your exhale. And slowly rise up, taking a breath, maybe closing the eyes. And empty out your lungs. Inhale, come forward, lift the chest, press the belly forward. And exhale, round the spine, bring your gaze to your belly button. Your hands can be used as a little stabilizer here, holding onto your ankles. And just moving with your breath. Inhale to lift and exhale to round the back. We're going to keep warming up the spine, so come into a tabletop position. Shoulders stacked over wrists and hips over knees. Empty out your lungs. Then inhale, lower the belly, lift the gaze up to the sky. And then exhale to round the back, bringing your gaze to your belly button. Inhale to open across the heart space and collarbones. And exhale, push through your shoulder blades. Moving slower or faster, all depending on where your breath is at today. And we'll return to a neutral spine. Send your right toes back, and then lift the foot up to the sky, and then lift the left hand up as well. And bring elbow to knee, rounding the back. Lower the hands back down and switch sides. Right arm lifted and left knee lifted. Bring it in and lower the hands. Switching to left hand, right knee, lower, right hand, left knee. Keep squeezing the core. Every time you come into that round little ball, keep lifting between the shoulder blades. Moving slow and stable. Use your breath to guide you. Few more here. Extend and then squeeze. Extend and then squeeze. Feel the core working. Lower the hands and send the right leg back up to the sky. And start to begin to draw little circles with your toes. Keeping it lifted, never letting it sink below your upper body. Switch directions. And then bend the knee and bring it forward and then down. Lift it back up, forward to your elbow, back down to the left knee, and then lift it back to the sky. So we're just sort of doing fire hydrant circles, keeping the knee lifted, sending it back, and then rounding it towards your elbow, lowering it down to the knee, and then lifting it back up. Beautiful job. Drop the right toes and send your heel backwards, getting a nice stretch down the back of the leg, especially in the calf. And then come forward, and we're going to switch directions. So bring the knee forward, out to the elbow, and then round it back up behind you. Keeping the core engaged. You might begin to feel a burn into the left standing leg. It's just supporting you. Lower the foot back down, send the heel behind you. Balloon out the upper back and then bring your foot in between your palms. Beautiful job. Find your low lunge, send your left knee back. Maybe come to lift, challenge your balance with your hands on your thigh. Sink into the left hip, keep pressing it forward. Bring your hands to heart center. Close your eyes. Maybe challenge your balance a little bit more, bringing the hands over the head. A gentle back bend as well. And bring your hands back down to heart center. Frame your front foot. And then send your knee back to meet the left. And we will repeat this on the other side. I'm just going to turn around here. So send your left knee behind you, lift your foot, and begin to draw tiny little circles here. First in one direction, and then the other. Keep it lifted, try to keep it above your upper body. And then we'll find those fire hydrant circles. So bending the knee forward to the elbow, dropping it down for a moment, and send it back up behind you. Use the hamstring connecting to the glutes to lift that leg. Controlled core to round it forward. Hold it up behind you, and then lower the toes down. Sink the heel backwards, finding that stretch down the back of your left leg. And then we'll switch directions, doing the hydrant circles the opposite direction. So bringing the knee forward, out to the side, and then sending it back. Keep going. You can do this. Use your breath. Core is squeezing and engaged. Beautiful job. Lower it down, bringing the toes behind you. Find that calf stretch again. Engage the core and send the left foot between your palms. Find your low lunge. Remember to shift your weight forward. Your right knee is backwards. You'll feel a stretch into the front of the right hip. Rising up with your hands onto your thighs. You may also bring your hands to heart center, or you can always find that gentle back bend, lifting the hands over your head. Closing the eyes to challenge the balance. And then sink back down, bringing your hands around the front foot, and then send it back into a tabletop position. Tuck the toes under, and then lift the hips towards the sky for your downward facing dog. Pedaling it out here, bending the knees as much as possible. You really want to get a nice flat back here. No rounding in the lower back. Bend the knees as much as you need in order to get that. Lifting the heels and sending them back down. Bring the gaze forward and walk your toes to the top of your mat. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, fold over the thighs. Inhale, rise up to stand, palms over the head. Exhale, hands to heart center. Step your feet about hip width apart, bringing your hands onto your hips. And then sink back down into a chair. Pull the knees behind the toes. Bring your hands to heart center. And then bring your right forearm to the inside of your right thigh and twist over to the left, straightening out the left leg. You're going to feel a really deep stretch into the left thigh. You can lower the right hand to the ground, lift the left arm up twisting to the left side. Keep breathing. If you need to come back up to the thigh, please feel free to do so. You don't want to hurt anything in your hamstrings. Listening to your body and what you need today. Bring your left hand back to your hip and slowly rise back up to stand with a flat back, hands to heart center. Take a breath. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale with a flat back, fold over. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale to rise up, palms touch over your head, and then exhale, sink back into that chair pose, bringing your hands to your hips. And straighten the right leg now, bend into the left knee. Bring your left hand to the inside of your left thigh, maybe reaching the right arm up to the sky. Gaze can follow your fingertips. Beautiful. Listening to your body, noticing any sensations, particularly down into the right hamstring. Keep breathing and coming out of the pose whenever you need to. Listening to your body and what it needs. Slow and deep inhale and smooth exhale. Pressing the chest over to the right. And bring your hands back to your hips. With a flat back, slowly rise back up to stand. Reach your arms up overhead and exhale to fold over your legs. Let your head be heavy. Inhale to halfway lift with a flat back. And then step your palms to the ground and bring your feet back into a low plank, dropping the knees. Shifting your weight forward, lower down, all the way onto your belly. Elbows at your sides. Inhale, peel a couple of ribs off the ground, lifting the chest. And then lower and then lift into a tabletop and then sit back into a child's pose. Knees as wide as the mat, toes are touching. Lift back up into a tabletop, tuck the toes and push into your downward dog. Beautiful flowing. Walk your feet up to the top of the mat, find a halfway lift, and exhale to fold, rounding the back. Rise up, arms come up overhead. Exhale, hands down to heart center. Now step your feet wider than hip width apart. Sink down into a squat, bringing your elbows to the insides of your thighs. You can stay lifted, and if you have the flexibility, you can bring your hips all the way to the ground, hovering slightly. Keep pressing your elbows into your thighs, maybe swaying from side to side, coming out of this whenever you need to. Bring your hands to the ground, lift the hips. Halfway lift with a flat back, heel toe your toes back together. And then send your feet back. You can either do the modified version here or lower halfway with the knees lifted. Inhale, upward dog. Thighs are off the ground. Exhale, downward dog. Beautiful job. Step to the top of your mat, halfway lift. And exhale to fold, rounding the back. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, hands to heart center, folding all the way to the ground. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, plant the palms. Step your left foot back and then lower the knee to the ground. Finding a low lunge here, you can keep your hands to the ground or placing them on your thigh to challenge your balance. Now tuck the back toes and sink your hips back towards your left heel. Right toe is engaged, toes are pulled towards your face, feeling a really deep stretch down your hamstring. Now shifting your weight forward, find that low lunge again. Plant the palms, shift your weight back, find the half split. Inhale, come forward, lifting the chest. Exhaling, planting the palms, sending your hips back. Feel free to come into down dog, or you can move through one more little vinyasa flow here, sending your hip foot back to plank, lowering down halfway, inhaling, lifting the chest for upward dog, and then stepping the toes down, find your down dog. Now you can send the left foot between your palms, lower the right knee. Find your low lunge, lifting the chest, bringing your hands to your thigh. And then framing your front foot, tucking your back toes, and shifting your weight back towards your heel, stretching out nice and long down the hamstring. And then moving through your little low lunge and half split vinyasa here, coming forward and then back, using your breath. Inhale, come forward, lift the chest, squeeze the core, challenge your balance, and then tuck the back toes. Exhale, bringing your knee towards your nose, shifting your weight forward, moving slowly and with control. And step back. You can either find your down dog or move through your flow. Feeling your heart rate lift, and then try to slow it down in your downward dog. Step up to a halfway lift, and then fold over, letting your head be heavy. Inhale, rise up nice and slow, palms reach overhead. Exhale, your hands to heart center. Beautiful job. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold all the way down. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, plant the palms. Send both toes back. Find your plank. Move through your chaturanga, either modified or the full version. Tucking your toes to downward dog. Now sending the right toes between your palms, framing your foot. Finding your foundation and rising into your runner's lunge. Keeping your right knee from creeping over your right toes. Make sure you can still see them. Lift the arms behind you, palms facing down. One straight long line of energy from your heel to your head. Now rising up to your crescent lunge, reaching your arms up. Your low legs stay the exact same. Core is engaged while you twist into your warrior two, straightening out that back foot, lunging into the right knee. Arms are strong. Now bringing your hands to your hips, feel free to use a block here, bringing it to the front of your right toes. And we're just going to heel toe the left foot forward, just a couple of feet here. Finding balance, shifting your weight into your right foot, and then popping the left foot off of the ground, finding half moon here. So keep trying to stabilize that right leg, keeping a long line of energy from the left toes to the crown of your head. Using the block to keep your chest lifted if you need, but try not to dump all of your weight into the block. Use your core. One more breath. Now square off your hips, bring your hands to the ground. Step back to your plank, lower chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog or baby cobra. Lift the chest. Roll over the toes, shift your weight back, find your down dog. And then send your left foot forward, framing your toes, rising up to your runner's lunge. A long line of energy from the right toes to the crown of the head. Keep lunging into the left thigh. Everything is engaged here. Keep your lower body anchored here and then lift your arms up to the sky for crescent lunge. Maybe inviting a gentle back bend here, shifting your arms behind your head. And then coming into your warrior two pose, stepping your right foot flat to the ground. Arms are extended. Keep lunging into that left thigh. Pulling the toes, making sure they aren't creeping too far forward. Bring your hands to your hips. Shift the back foot forward just a little bit. Keep shifting your weight into the left foot until you can pop your right leg off of the ground. Planting your left hand to the ground either on the block or the floor. And then stack your hips as you open to the right side. Slight bend into the left knee, reaching the right arm up to the sky. Keep that back leg lifted. Use the glutes. And then square off your hips, bringing your hands back to the ground and stepping back to your plank. Move through your flow, lowering down chaturanga. Resist the floor. Inhale, shine your heart forward. Exhale to downward dog and take a breath. Lower down onto the knees and then sink the hips back. Find your child's pose. Slow down the heart. Slow and controlled breaths. Come back into a tabletop and then tuck the back toes under while slowly shifting your weight back to your heels. Walking your hands towards your knees, you're going to start to feel a really deep stretch into the arches of your feet. Feel free to come up to a seated position, but this is a really deep and intense stretch. It's opening and ripping apart the fascia that builds up in the arches of our feet from lack of stretching and poor shoe support. You can even add a gentle heart opener here, bringing your hands to a fist behind you, pushing your hands down and away from you. Feeling a stretch into the front of the shoulders. You can drop the head back, opening across the throat. Feel free to come out of this at any time, but try to come back into it for a few more breaths. And come forward, untuck the toes, tap out the tops of your feet to the ground, letting some of the sensation pass. And we'll meet in a seated pose, sitting cross-legged or onto a block. And extend the left leg long, cross the right ankle over top of the left thigh just above the knee. You can stay here, keeping your chest lifted. You can also tuck a block underneath the right knee if you'd like to have it supported here. Or you can remove the block and you can actually cross the left knee underneath the right. So we're stacking our ankles on top of our knees. So it's a little bit more intense than a regular crisscross applesauce pose. We really want that distinct triangle in between our legs. You can use a block to place underneath your right knee if it's lifted. You can stay lifted or come forward, placing your forearms onto a block, or even just a gentle rounding of the upper back. Breathing through any sensations or discomfort. You can always come back to whatever variation your body needs today. Few more breaths here. And the bottom of your exhale, slowly rise up, uncross your legs, and windshield wiper them out from side to side. We'll repeat this on the other side now, crossing the left ankle right above the right knee. And use whatever variation you'd like in your legs. You can either keep that leg extended, or you can bend in the right knee, coming into that stacked ankle to knee position. Coming forward whenever you're ready, rounding in the back. Noticing if the mind starts to wander. Sometimes stillness creates the most difficult time to focus on the present moment, on your practice. Just come back to your breath, noticing your inhale coming into your nose, filling up your belly, and slowly exhaling and emptying it out of your lungs. Begin to very slowly come out of this pose, removing any blocks or props that you have. Unbind the legs, straighten them out in front of you, and shake them out. Dropping the toes from side to side, pointing and flexing the feet, bringing some movement and some blood flow back into the legs. And slowly lower all the way back down onto your mat for our final few poses. Extend the right leg back up to the sky again, wrapping the hands around the hamstring, and observe the difference between where your leg is at now and from where it was at the beginning of practice. We've stretched out the hamstrings and the hips, and you should be feeling quite a bit more open. Drop the right leg back down to the mat, and then send the left leg back up to the sky, and notice any differences here. And if you don't, that is totally okay. It just depends on how flexible your hamstrings and hips are. Finding the space in your hamstring takes a lot of time and practice. Step both feet down to the ground now and let your knees fall over to the right side, keeping your left shoulder firmly rooted to the ground. Extend your left arm out to the side, and your gaze can follow. Slight engagement to the core as you lift the knees back up. Let them fall over to the left side, your right arm extending long. Gaze can follow for a full body twist. Even though our abdomen is being compressed in this twist, try to breathe in full, deep inhales and smooth and slow exhales. Bring the knees back to center and extend each foot one at a time to the bottom corner of your mat. Arms come to your sides. Roll your shoulders slightly underneath you. A gentle tuck to the chin, long back of the neck. Letting your body absorb the full benefits of your practice and your hard work. Honor yourself for showing up to your mat and giving yourself this practice. Feel free to stay here as long as you'd like. Otherwise, start to wiggle the toes and the fingers. Bring the knees towards the chest and roll over onto your right side. Moving very slowly and mindfully. Pressing up into a seated position where we can end off our practice. Bringing your hands to your heart. Taking a breath. The light in me sees and acknowledges the light in you and knows that they are the same. Namaste. I hope you had a wonderful practice.